Guys, in this video we are going to see executor service. So generally in Java, if you want to execute a thread or if you want to create a thread, we can use extents of thread concept which helps us to create a thread, right? Otherwise we can go for implements runnable. But there is one more service called executor thread, which as you can see in my screen, this will help us to do the same thing. The advantage of using executor services, here we can use this callable interface. In the callable interface, as you can see here, I have implemented in the same class. It has a method called call, and the one significant importance of using this call method is we can return whatever the data that we want to return. Generally, if you are using runnable interface, which we want to create a thread, we can't return because by default the run method is in a void one. But here we are having the callable method callable interface. Here we need to mention the data that which we want to return. So as I mentioned, this is a string one. So inside the string one, I can use this one called so this is return type. Here I can mention the whatever the data that I want to return, I can keep it here. Okay, so this will help us to I'm not having any I didn't write any logic here. I'm just return from this method. Okay, so now this is the first implementation of the callable. Next one is I'm in the main method. I'm just creating object for the executor. So here I am having a new single thread executor. From the name itself you will understand it executes only one thread at a time. So once it's complete, then only it goes for the next one. So here I am just giving the callable sample, which is the same class, to execute this one. So submit method. What the submit method will do, it just processes the thread, and whenever the thread is returns the response, it just assign to this response here. Okay, in case if you want to return anything from the thread, then we can go for this option. The system.out.println, which helps me to print the response. And whenever we are using executor service, it is must that we should use this shutdown method to shut down the service. Otherwise, it will keep on opening the program. So keep on running the program. So whenever we are using executor service, it is must that we should shut down the service. Okay, now let me run the program. If you see here, you can clearly see the output once again. It's running here as it is thread. Yeah, you can see here this output. So the sample output is coming from the return response of the thread actually. Okay, so this is what about the executor service, which helps us to execute a thread. Okay, now this executor service is having three different methods. So either you can go for a new single thread executor. So from the name itself, as I mentioned, it runs only one thread. There's a two more methods also available, which is called new cached thread pool. So what this new cached thread pool will do, it runs based on the resources available. So what it means is, like whatever the memory resource available in your system, accordingly it just executes the thread. This is one way of implementing the executor service. The third one is we can go for the new fixed thread pool. In the new fixed thread pool, we can mention how many threads you want to execute it. Okay, so you don't need to worry about whether resources or anything. You can just mention the count here. Accordingly, it just works. Okay, so it's your wish, like you know what we need to implement. Either you can go for new single thread executor, catch thread pool, fixed thread pool. Okay, this is one way of executing the executor service. There is another way. For example, you are having a list of threads. Okay, it's not like not this one. You are having a list of threads that you want to execute it. Okay, for that also they have implementation, which means, so now I am having a new cached thread pool. As I mentioned, I am having around one or more threads. Okay, so here I am creating a list here, which is called array list callable string. It should be callable interface, so I am mentioning callable. In case if you are having any callable classes, then you can mention it here itself. But I am directly mentioning as a callable string. So now in this callable string, I am just using a same class, which is called execute callable. I think same class only. Yeah, the same class. I'm just having a constructor. By passing that constructor value, it just we are adding that class to the array list actually. Okay, this is still now. This is just an array list and adding that object to the array list actually. That's it. Now there is a in this executor service, I'm just using a method called invoke all. So what this will do, whatever that array list object it's having, all these things will get execute here, and we can get the output by using the for each kind of thing. Okay, so this is also another way of executing all the threads. This is called a multi-threading. Okay, so here what we are happening is we are having a lot of threads and everything will work simultaneously, and we can get the output if you want. Okay, but there is a another way is also available. So one is called, which means now you are having a list of threads, but you want to execute any one of the thread. It's not like you are not selecting, dynamically it can select. Okay, which means it can select any one thread and it just executes. The same logic I am just having. We are having array list of threads, and instead of invoke all we can use invoke any. So this invoke any, it fetches anything. We don't want to do anything, automatically JDK will fetch based on some logic, and it just execute. So as you can see here, we can see only output. Okay, this is like a dynamically it fetches the one object from the list of callable here. Okay, so this is how we can perform our executor threads, which helps us to perform this multi-threaded operation. The first is for multi-threaded. You can use whatever the statement that you want to execute, you can execute. Otherwise, if you want to execute all the threads, we can create a list of threads, and we can go for invoke all. Otherwise, there is one more way, which means you want to execute only one, then we can go for invoke. This type of executor service will be very useful in all the places. By using, instead of using this extents of threads implements runnable, this will be the advantage over that extents of thread. Okay, so if any doubts, just put it in the comments, I will explain it. Thank you, bye bye.